Commander Daniel Wright stood on the bridge of the ESS Discovery, Earth's first faster-than-light vessel. The year was 2142, and humanity had finally broken the light barrier. After decades of theoretical work and engineering breakthroughs, they were about to make history as the first humans to visit another star system. "Alpha Centauri dead ahead, sir," reported Navigation Officer Paul Green. "All systems nominal." Wright nodded, his eyes fixed on the view screen showing the brilliant light of Earth's nearest stellar neighbor. The culmination of his entire career was happening at this moment. "Take us in slowly, Lieutenant." Standard approach pattern. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency. They were the best Earth had to offer. Scientists, engineers, and military personnel chosen from thousands of applicants. Each understood the weight of their mission: to represent humanity in whatever lay beyond our solar system. Lieutenant Olivia Martinez monitored the communications array. "Sir, I'm picking up an unusual energy signature at coordinates 227 by 43. It doesn't match any natural phenomenon in our database." Wright straightened in his chair. On screen, the view screen shifted to show a sleek metallic vessel unlike anything built by human hands. Its hull gleamed with an iridescent blue-green sheen, and it moved with precision that suggested highly advanced propulsion. Wright kept his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Yellow alert. Lieutenant Martinez, prepare first contact protocols. Let's introduce ourselves." Martinez sent the carefully crafted message: mathematical sequences followed by basic linguistic patterns designed by Earth's top xenolinguists. The crew waited in tense silence. The response came 3 minutes later. The view screen flickered, revealing a humanoid figure with pale blue skin and large, pupilless eyes. Complex symbols scrolled across the bottom of the screen. "Translation matrix is working," Martinez said. "It's identifying itself as Captain Excel of the Zeltarian scout ship Vorin, representing something called the Galactic Empire." Wright stood. "I am Commander Daniel Wright of Earth vessel ESS Discovery. We come in peace and friendship." The alien's expression changed subtly. "Human vessel. Your species is unknown to the Imperial Registry. Your immediate surrender and submission to Imperial authority is required. Prepare for boarding and classification." Wright frowned. "There must be a misunderstanding. We're on a peaceful mission of exploration." Martinez studied her console. "Sir, I think there's a translation error. Their language has different connotative meanings for peace and exploration. I think they're interpreting our message as a territorial claim." Before Wright could respond, the Zeltarian captain spoke again, voice harsher. "Your primitive vessel has violated Imperial space. Submit immediately or face consequences." "Try to clarify our intentions," Wright ordered. "Explain we meant no offense." Martinez worked frantically at her console. "They're charging weapon systems." "Shields up," Wright commanded. Evasive maneuvers. The Discovery rocked violently as energy beams struck its hull. Damage reports flooded in from all decks. "Communications array hit," reported Chief Engineer Frank Wilson. "We've lost 60% of our shield capacity." Wright faced the most difficult decision of his life. Return fire. Target their weapon systems only. The Discovery's experimental pulse cannons fired, striking the Zeltarian vessel with unexpected force. The alien ship hadn't raised shields, clearly not expecting the primitive human vessel to possess such firepower. The Zeltarian ship exploded in a brilliant flash that quickly faded in the vacuum of space. Silence fell across the bridge. They weren't expecting us to be able to fight back," Coleman said quietly. Wright sank into his chair. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. The world needs to know. We're not alone in the universe, and not everyone out there is friendly." As the Discovery turned homeward, none of the crew realized they had just fired the first shots in what would become humanity's greatest challenge, A war that would determine whether our species would survive or be crushed by a vast interstellar empire that had never before encountered the unique resilience of humans. Grand Admiral Krell paced the polished floor of the Imperial War Chamber, his six-fingered hands clasped behind his back, four red eyes narrowed in thought. The loss of a scout ship would normally mean little to the vast galactic empire that ruled over 300 star systems. But this was different. "Show me the final transmission again," he ordered. A hologram flickered to life, showing the Zeltarian captain's last message before destruction. Unknown species, primitive technology but unexpected weapons capability, calling themselves humans. Intelligence Officer Dravtek stepped forward, his thin frame almost skeletal compared to Krell's imposing bulk. "We've analyzed all available data, Admiral. These humans originate from a planet called Earth in the Sol system, previously considered of little interest due to its location in an outer spiral arm. And yet they destroyed an Imperial vessel," Krell said flatly. "A fluke, surely," said Fleet Commander Haxanor dismissively. His scaled skin shifted from green to yellow, showing his confidence. "Their technology is centuries behind ours. They've only just developed rudimentary faster-than-light travel." Dravtek touched his datapad, and new images appeared: human cities, vehicles, and weapons. "What concerns me is not their technology, but their history. These humans have a unique pattern of warfare unlike any species we've encountered." The display shifted to show human battles through history. Ancient armies clashing with swords, world wars with primitive firearms, modern conflicts with advanced weaponry. "They spend their entire history fighting each other," Dravtek continued. "While most species develop war only after contacting alien civilizations, humans have been perfecting it for thousands of years against themselves." Emperor Zolvex, who had been listening silently from his elevated throne, leaned forward. His crystalline crown caught the light, sending rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. "You suggest this minor species poses a threat to us?" The Emperor's voice carried both amusement and warning. Krell bowed slightly. "No, Your Magnificence. Merely that subjugating them may require more resources than a standard conquest." From the shadows, the scholar Melina stepped forward. Her species was ancient, with skin like parchment and eyes that had seen millennia pass. The old texts mention worlds like this. Death worlds, they called them. Planets with harsh conditions that create species with remarkable survival traits. Haxanor laughed. "Ancient superstitions. Look at their ships, barely able to reach nearby stars. Their weapons are primitive projectiles and simple energy beams. Yet they destroyed an Imperial vessel," Krell repeated quietly. The Emperor waved a dismissive hand. "I grow bored with this discussion. Admiral Krell, you will dispatch Commander Haxanor with a standard subjugation fleet. 3 heavy cruisers and support vessels should be more than sufficient." "As you command," Krell said, bowing deeply. Later, as the War Council dispersed, Melina approached Krell privately. "Admiral, the texts are clear. Underestimating Death World species has led to disaster before." Krell looked down at the ancient scholar. "I am bound by the Emperor's command." "Then send more ships than ordered," she whispered, "for the Empire's sake." Krell considered her words but ultimately shook his head. "The Emperor has spoken." Across the stars, Earth's nations frantically united under the newly formed Earth Defense Alliance. The ESS Discovery's data on Imperial technology was being analyzed in labs across the planet. In an underground bunker, Admiral Samuel Carter addressed the gathered military leaders from every major nation. "We don't know when they'll come, but they will come. And when they do, we must be ready." As humans prepared for their first interstellar war, Imperial battleships moved silently through hyperspace toward the Sol system. Commander Haxanor stood confidently on his bridge, already planning how he would present the subjugated human worlds to the Emperor. Neither side truly understood what was coming. The Empire had never faced humans before, and that would prove to be their greatest mistake. The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace in a brilliant flash of light. 3 massive cruisers and 12 support vessels took position in Mars orbit, their sleek forms dwarfing the small human outposts on the red planet's surface. Commander Haxanor stood tall on the bridge of his flagship, the inevitable conquest. His scales had turned bright yellow, the color of victory. "Open a channel to the human homeworld," he ordered. "Standard surrender protocol." The communications officer complied. Soon, Haxanor's image was broadcasting to every screen on Earth. "Attention, humans. I am Commander Haxanor of the Galactic Imperial Fleet. Your unauthorized attack on an Imperial vessel constitutes an act of war against the Empire. Surrender immediately and submit to Imperial rule. Resistance will result in your planet's destruction." He waited confidently for the panic and submission that always followed such announcements from lesser species. On Earth, Captain Benjamin Foster watched the transmission from the bridge of the EDF Defiant, one of Earth's 12 newly commissioned warships hidden behind Earth's moon. Each vessel incorporated what little they had learned from the Zoltarian wreckage. "They're positioning themselves around Mars," reported his tactical officer. "Standard orbital formation. They don't seem to be scanning for our fleet." Foster nodded grimly. "They don't expect us to have a fleet." Admiral Carter's assessment was correct. "They're underestimating us." At Earth Defense Command, Major Lisa Bailey monitored the network of hastily constructed orbital defense platforms. All weapon systems online. Missile batteries ready worldwide. Admiral Carter stood before the United Earth Council. "We have one chance to show these invaders that humanity won't go quietly. If we hit them hard enough now, we might force them to reconsider." The council president nodded. "Give the order, Admiral." Haxanor was growing impatient with the human silence when his sensor officer suddenly shouted, "Commander, multiple energy signatures detected. They're launching." The bridge rocked violently as the first wave of Earth's missiles struck the Imperial fleet. The inevitable conquest's shields flared bright blue under the assault. "Impossible," Haxanor hissed. "How could they have weapons that penetrate our shields?" On Earth, Dr. Alan Donovan watched his invention in action. His team had worked day and night to modify Earth's nuclear weapons with a phase-shifting technology based on principles gleaned from the Zoltarian ship. "The frequency modulation is working," he said as monitors showed Imperial shields failing under the barrage. Captain Foster gave the order. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta." Earth's small fleet emerged from behind the moon, engines blazing as they closed on the Imperial vessels. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they had surprise on their side. The Battle of Mars had begun. Imperial ships scrambled to respond as Earth forces attacked from multiple vectors. 2 support vessels exploded under concentrated fire from Earth's platforms. The humans fought with a ferocity that shocked the Imperial crews, who were accustomed to easy victories. Haxanor rallied his forces. "Target their primitive vessels. Show no mercy." The battle raged for hours. Earth suffered heavy losses as Imperial technology proved devastating. 3 human ships were destroyed, and 2 Mars colonies were obliterated by Imperial weapons. But humanity fought back with desperate innovation. When conventional weapons failed, they rammed damaged ships into Imperial vessels. When communications were jammed, they used old radio frequencies the Empire ignored. By battle's end, both sides were bloodied. Haxanor had lost 5 ships, an unthinkable defeat. He ordered a retreat to regroup, vowing to return with a larger force. As the Imperial fleet jumped to hyperspace, Earth counted its dead. The victory had come at terrible cost, but they had bought precious time. Admiral Carter walked through a field hospital, seeing the wounded from the battle. "We've shown them we can fight," he said to Foster. But this was just the beginning. In the distance, Earth's factories worked at full capacity. The war for humanity's survival had only just begun. Dr. Alan Donovan hadn't slept in 3 days. His eyes were red-rimmed as he studied the captured Imperial technology in the underground laboratory beneath the Rocky Mountains. Coffee cups littered his workstation, and half-eaten meals sat forgotten as he worked. "I think I've got it," he said to Catherine Powell, the engineer who had been working alongside him. Their shield technology operates on a rotating frequency. That's why our first missiles worked but later ones didn't. Powell nodded, her fingers flying across a holographic display. If we can predict the rotation pattern, we can time our attacks to hit when the shields are weakest. Across the vast complex, hundreds of Earth's brightest minds worked feverishly to understand and adapt the alien technology. The Battle of Mars had given them something precious, time, and captured Imperial equipment. Earth's industrial capacity is now our greatest weapon, Admiral Carter told the Defense Council, pointing to global manufacturing readouts. Every factory, every resource, every worker must be dedicated to war production. Global industries that once made cars, phones, and consumer goods now produced weapons, ships, and armor. Children studied alien languages in school. Farmers grew crops specifically bred for maximum nutrition and minimal space. Colonel Jack Reynolds trained the first group of zero-G combat specialists in a secret orbital facility. Men and women floated in simulated space conditions, learning to fight in an environment where conventional tactics meant nothing. "Forget everything you know about ground combat," he barked at his trainees. "In space, there is no up or down. Your enemy can come from any direction, and momentum is both your ally and enemy." At lunar shipyards hidden from Imperial sensors, Earth's first true warships took shape. Unlike the hastily converted vessels used in the Battle of Mars, these were designed specifically for war, incorporating what they'd learned from captured Imperial technology. 6 months after the first battle, an Imperial diplomatic vessel entered the Sol system under a flag of truce. It transmitted a simple message to Earth: submit or be destroyed. The full might of the Empire approaches. Admiral Carter met with Earth's leaders to discuss the ultimatum. "They're trying to intimidate us," he said, "but our intelligence suggests they're surprised by our resistance. The fact that they're threatening instead of simply attacking means we've made them cautious." Earth's response was equally simple: silence. Instead, Operation First Strike was launched. 5 stealth ships, their hulls coated with materials that absorbed sensor sweeps, slipped out of the solar system. Their mission: attack Imperial supply lines and gather intelligence. Commander Natalie Cruz led the mission from the bridge of the EDF Phantom. "Our goal isn't to win battles," she told her crew. "It's to show the Empire that distance won't protect them, that humans can strike anywhere." Back on Earth, Dr. Donovan made another breakthrough. Studying an Imperial officer captured during the Battle of Mars, he discovered a crucial weakness in their neural structure. Their brains process fear differently than ours, he explained to Admiral Carter. They evolved on worlds with few predators. When faced with a species that doesn't retreat logically, their neural pathways become overwhelmed. Carter nodded slowly. "You're saying we can use their psychology against them." "I'm saying that human unpredictability, what they see as irrationality, terrifies them at a biological level." This knowledge shaped Earth's strategy. In the coming battles, humans would fight in ways the Empire couldn't predict or understand. When an Imperial scout detected Earth's lunar shipyards, a quick strike force was dispatched to destroy them. They expected an easy victory against the primitive humans. Instead, they encountered a heavily armed defense fleet with shields that matched their own. The Earth ships fought with a mixture of advanced technology and tactics no Imperial commander would consider, including deliberately sacrificing smaller vessels to position larger ones for killing blows. The scout force was annihilated, but one ship escaped to deliver the message to the Empire. Humans were not just fighting back. They were evolving their warfare faster than any species the Empire had ever encountered. Commander Natalie Cruz's stealth vessel drifted silently toward the Imperial supply depot orbiting Proxima Centauri. The EDF Phantom's engines were cold, running on minimal power to avoid detection. 5 other ships formed a loose formation around her, equally dark against the backdrop of space. "Visual confirmation of target," whispered Lieutenant Ryan Garcia, though there was no need to whisper in the vacuum of space. Old habits died hard. I count 14 supply ships and 3 defensive cruisers. Cruz studied the Imperial Depot through the viewscreen. It was massive. A central hub with extending docking arms where ships loaded and unloaded supplies bound for the front lines of what the Empire now called the human containment. Begin Operation Hornet's Nest, Cruz ordered. Lieutenant Garcia, you're up. Garcia nodded, his fingers dancing across his console. He had been a cybersecurity specialist before the war. Now his skills were being used to hack alien systems. Deploying electronic warfare package, he said. Small drones launched from the Phantom, speeding toward the Imperial Communications Array. Each carried specially designed programs based on Imperial code captured in previous engagements. Imperial communications compromised, Garcia announced minutes later. Their systems think we're friendly ships. We have 30 minutes before they detect the intrusion. Cruz stood. All ships, attack pattern Epsilon. Target fuel reserves and munitions first. The human fleet surged forward, still undetected as they approached the unsuspecting Imperial Depot. When they finally opened fire, the devastating surprise was complete. Imperial crews scrambled in confusion as their communication systems showed no enemy presence even while their ships exploded around them. Their defensive cruisers are moving to engage, Garcia reported. Cruz smiled grimly. Spring the trap. A second human fleet suddenly appeared from behind Proxima's larger moon, having hidden there for days. The Imperial forces found themselves caught in a deadly crossfire. 3 hours later, the battle was over. The supply depot was a field of debris, and the human fleets disappeared as quickly as they had struck. On the Imperial throne world, Grand Admiral Krell faced the Emperor's wrath. How is this possible? Emperor Zolvex demanded, his crystalline crown pulsing angry red. You assured me these humans would be contained. Krell bowed low. The humans are, not fighting according to any known doctrine, Your Magnificence. They attack supply lines rather than main forces. They use tactics that sacrifice their own vessels in ways no rational species would consider. Excuses, the Emperor hissed. I am committing 30 more battle groups to this conflict. End this human problem, Admiral, or you will be replaced. The war expanded rapidly. What had begun as a simple subjugation was now consuming Imperial resources at an alarming rate. The Battle of Ta City became the bloodiest engagement yet. Imperial forces arrived in overwhelming numbers, expecting to crush the human presence there. Instead, they found a heavily fortified human colony with defenses built deep into the moon's surface. Major Lisa Bailey commanded the ground forces at Ta City. When Imperial troops landed, they discovered that humans fought differently than any species they had encountered. While Imperial soldiers advanced in orderly formations, humans used guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and traps. They're not retreating when outgunned, an Imperial commander reported in disbelief. They're charging our positions instead. The psychological impact was devastating. Imperial troops, used to enemies who surrendered when defeat was logical, couldn't comprehend human willingness to sacrifice. After 3 weeks of brutal fighting, the Empire controlled Ta City, but at a cost that shocked Imperial High Command. For every human killed, 4 Imperial soldiers had fallen. More disturbing to the Empire were the first defections. A small Imperial scout ship arrived at Earth space with its commander requesting asylum. The Empire has never faced anything like you, the defector told Admiral Carter. There are whispers throughout the fleet. Some call humans Death World demons. Others believe this war cannot be won. Carter leaned forward. Tell me everything you know about Imperial fleet movements. The tide of war was beginning to turn. Imperial Senator Vox stood before the High Council, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. 3 more worlds have requested additional security forces. Civil unrest is spreading. He paused, looking directly at Emperor Zolvex. The war against the humans is becoming unpopular. The Emperor's crystalline crown pulsed dark purple with anger. Unpopular? We are the Galactic Empire. We have ruled for 10,000 years. And yet, Your Magnificence, Vox continued carefully. The casualty reports can no longer be hidden. The citizens ask why so many die fighting a species from a single world. Grand Admiral Krell had been silently observing the exchange. Now all eyes turned to him. The human problem will be solved, Krell stated flatly. I have removed the incompetent Haxanor and appointed Admiral Vorkstall to lead our forces. What Krell didn't mention was how the war was draining Imperial resources at an unprecedented rate. For every human ship destroyed, the Empire lost 3. The humans simply refused to follow the rules of warfare that had governed galactic conflicts for millennia. Meanwhile, Captain Eric Mitchell led a diplomatic mission to the Arcturus system, home to the Neveri, a species long oppressed by the Empire. His ship landed on their cloud-covered world, where he was escorted to the Neveri High Council. The Empire has dominated us for centuries, said the Neveri leader, her translucent skin rippling with blue light. Why should we join your fight? Mitchell activated a hologram showing Imperial atrocities, because humans don't seek to replace one empire with another. We fight for freedom, yours as well as ours. Back on Earth, Dr. Sophia Williams had made a breakthrough. After studying Imperial communications and the information provided by defectors, she had mapped the Empire's political structure. There are fractures we can exploit, she explained to Admiral Carter. Many subjugated worlds provide resources but receive little in return. Some Imperial senators secretly oppose the Emperor but fear speaking out. Carter nodded thoughtfully. So we fight not just with ships, but with information. Human intelligence operations began targeting these fractures. Messages spread through Imperial space, videos of human colonies rebuilding after attacks, stories of Imperial defectors being welcomed, evidence of the Emperor hiding casualty figures. Admiral Vorkstall, frustrated by conventional tactics failing against humans, deployed the Empire's most terrible weapon. The planet killer targeted New Eden, humanity's largest colony outside the solar system. When the weapon fired, 2 million human lives were extinguished in seconds. Earth's response was swift and shocking. Instead of retreating, a deep strike force led by Admiral Helen Wright jumped directly to the Imperial throne world. They bypassed the main defenses using routes provided by defectors and deployed specially designed weapons targeting only military installations. Lieutenant Commander Grace Miller's ship, the EDF Sacrifice, was critically damaged during the attack. Rather than retreat, she made a decision that would be remembered in human history forever. All personnel to escape pods, Miller ordered calmly. Helm, set course for the planetary shield generator. Her ship, engines blazing, crashed through the Imperial defenses. The resulting explosion disabled the throne world's shields, allowing the human fleet to complete their precision strikes before jumping away. Miller's sacrifice saved millions of civilian lives, both human and Imperial, by enabling the surgical strike rather than all-out warfare. The attack on the throne world shocked Imperial citizens. For the first time in the Empire's history, its capital had been directly threatened. Public spaces filled with protesters demanding an end to the human war. In a secure bunker deep beneath the Imperial Palace, Emperor Zolvex faced his advisors. How did they reach us here? He demanded. How can one species threaten everything we've built? Grand Admiral Krell looked tired, his once bright scales now dull gray. Because, Your Magnificence, we have never fought a species like humans before, and I fear we never should have started. Admiral Helen Wright stood on the bridge of the EDF Vengeance, Earth's largest warship. 3 years of bitter conflict had transformed her from Daniel Wright's quiet, scholarly sister into one of humanity's most formidable military leaders. The view screen showed hundreds of human vessels alongside ships from 3 formerly subjugated alien species who had joined the Earth Alliance. All fleets report ready. Admiral, her second-in-command, reported. Helen nodded, her face showing the weight of command. Begin the jump sequence. Target, Imperial capital. Across space, the combined fleet vanished into hyperspace for what might be the final battle of the war. On the imperial throne world, chaos reigned. The once mighty capital was in disarray as reports came in of human forces liberating world after world. The Imperial Senate chamber had become a battleground of words as factions argued over how to end the conflict. The humans cannot be defeated through conventional means, Senator Vox argued. Each defeat only makes them fight harder. We must negotiate while we still can. Others disagreed, still believing in imperial superiority despite all evidence to the contrary. The debate ended abruptly when the chamber lights flickered and an aide rushed in. The human fleet has been detected. Hundreds of ships approaching the defense perimeter. Emperor Zolvex sat alone in his inner sanctum, the crystalline crown on his head pulsing with dull colors. Grand Admiral Krell entered without announcement, his once proud uniform now worn, and his scales a pale shadow of their former brilliance. "Your Magnificence," Krell said quietly. "We can no longer win this war." The Emperor looked up, eyes burning with rage. "The Empire does not surrender. We have ruled for 10,000 years. And we may rule for 10,000 more," Krell replied. "But not if we continue this war. The humans, they are unlike any species we have encountered. They do not fight as we do. They do not think as we do. And most importantly, they do not give up." Before the Emperor could respond, the Imperial Senate voted by emergency measure to remove Zolvex from power. As Imperial guards came to escort him to confinement, the Emperor finally understood what humans had taught the galaxy, that even the mightiest could fall. The human fleet arrived not to find a desperate last battle, but a message of surrender. Admiral Helen Wright accepted the formal request for peace talks with appropriate gravity. 2 weeks later, Commander Daniel Wright, the man who had fired the first shot of the war, walked into the Grand Imperial Senate chamber as Earth's chief diplomat. The symbolism was lost on no one. Humans began the new Imperial Regent, a moderate who had risen to power in the wake of Zolvex's removal. "Your species has accomplished what none thought possible. You have fought the Empire to a standstill." Daniel stepped forward. "We did not want this war. We do not seek to destroy the Empire. We seek only the right of all species to determine their own futures." The peace treaty that followed was unprecedented. Earth and its allies would remain independent. The former imperial subjects who had joined the human cause would be free to choose their own paths. And most significantly, humanity would be officially classified under ancient imperial law as a Death World species, a designation that granted special protections and recognitions. Throughout the galaxy, warning beacons were placed near human space. "Approach with caution. Death World species." At the newly formed Galactic Council, where the Empire now sat as just one power among many, Daniel Wright addressed the assembled representatives. "The war is over, but our work begins. Humans have much to learn from galactic civilization, and perhaps we have some things to teach as well. Not about war. We've all seen enough of that, but about perseverance, adaptation, and the unbreakable will to be free." As the council session ended, an Imperial diplomat approached Daniel. "You know," the alien said quietly, "there's a saying spreading through Imperial space now. If you must fight, make sure it's not with humans." Daniel smiled. "I hope that one day we'll be known for something better than our ability to fight." "Perhaps," the diplomat replied, "but that day is not yet here. Until then, the galaxy will remember the first and last time the Empire made the mistake of going to war with humans."